Today we are with a dear friend, Anthony Tamburri, who is the Dean of the Calandra Institute in New York. Where are now? What is this place?
What are we doing? Where are we? Okay, so basically, this is the gallery of the Calandra Institute, of the John D. Calandra Italian American Institute. We are under the aegis of Queens College, which is part of the City University of New York, and we are here in Midtown Manhattan. The Calandra Institute is situated in Midtown Manhattan. We just put up this exhibit, and it's called Suggestioni, la Divina Commedia illustrata. And basically, there are 39, I think, in all, 39 illustrations and black panels of each canticle. And it's a project that it's a project of the Associazione Libreria in Viaggio, which is part of Round Robin Press. And Luigi, we have the Direttore, Luigi Politano, and then other people that assisted him on this one panel here. It was suggested that if we could host it. We saw some of the drawings, which you will see are extremely diverse in style, and we just think it's a wonderful exhibit for commemorating 700 years since the death of Dante. And there are, what I find fascinating is that of the three canticles, what we have is 15, I think, for the Inferno, and then 12 and 12. So the Inferno, of course, which is usually read the most, got also the most attention.
Can I ask you, because every time we think about illustration of the Divine Comedy, we think about Doré, all the 19th century illustration. Right. Just having a look, I have the idea, the impression that we are not in the 19th century.
We are not by any means in the 19th century. We're full-fledged, full head steam ahead in the 21st century. The artists are about 24, and they range from, I think, born in early 50s to the 80s. So we have a real spectrum of young, post-war young artists. And as we can see, as we'll see as we move around, the style is totally different from one artist to the other.
But you can see this mixture between Dante and pop culture.
Exactly, precisely, yeah. And so if we want to sort of start here.
The first one is a bit Doré.
The first one, yes, exactly, right. So the exhibit is set up, the original exhibit is in Rome, and it's up there for a while. This one also is up here for a while, probably through September. As also we move forward, we're hopeful that in the next few weeks we'll be able to have people come and visit. We're all waiting on the latest procedures, that City University of New York, the State of New York, et cetera, are going to go through. So each canticle is introduced by a couple of verses, as you can see, and then a diagram of Inferno, and we see another one we'll see of Purgatorio, and then a third of Paradiso. And here, right here, these two, you can see the distinct difference, right? Something, as you said, is Doré in Suggestion, right? Whereas this one is totally contemporary, if not cartoonish in the positive sense of the term, right? If not cartoonish, right? And then something a little bit more traditional, a little more contemporary might be this one here. So we have, this is the prima terzina, no? Nel mezzo del cammin di nostra vita mi ritroverai in una selva oscura dove, and I can't read, la diritta via smarrita, right? And then we have, of course, la lonza, the big threat, right, for the first threat for Dante, and then this one is Fiera, and this is also Inferno, the first canto, verses 46 to 48.
So there is not a chronological order according to the date of birth of the author, but it's a narrative order,
right?
Correct. Okay.
And then these are verses that each artist chose or that felt inspired, and and they made their drawings.
So you can go through the Divine Comedy, going through all these images.
Right. So here we are already in Canto 3.
Yes.
So these first 3 are Canto 1. I guess the second canto wasn't too inspiring.
No, exactly.
Right? So
It's a more theological.
Exactly. So we have Canto 3 here, Canto 5, of course, Paolo and Francesco.
Very beautiful.
Right.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it's there is something phantasmatic, which is so good for the Inferno.
Precisely.
Yes.
And then, of course, we had this is Cerbero, Cerberus. This is Canto 6. And again, this is in design, one might say, sort of classic in a way, right? But then again, we have this other one. This is Medusa Sorge, which is Canto 9, and it becomes
like a Milo Manara.
Exactly, exactly. And then, of course, this one is very much popular, almost cartoonish. We would see on TV today this type of drawing, the Minotauro, right? And then we go to something which I would say is really classic in a way.
Yes.
The drawing of whether it's pencil or ink pen, and this is a Le Tre Arpie. Yeah.
And you are still in the same canto with the following one.
With the following one, right? Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Where the Arpia is very elegant, by the way.
Very much so. So these are reproductions of the originals. The originals are basically the same size. This is an 11 by 17 frame. This original was in meters, I think it was 27 by 42, which basically translates into 11.5 by 16.5 inches. And so our friends in Rome, what they did was they basically slightly modified the file so that it would fit nicely, and we have the ones that are colored.
Can I ask you a question? Did some of these authors illustrate all the Divine Comedy, or just they did only just one or two?
From what I know, they've only done a few select cantos or whatever. Yeah. So.
Because some of these, for instance, in a book would be great.
Would be wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. And the interpretations are of course, very provoking. This is Ugolino, and we have, of course, a different image of Ugolino. We have Ugolino literally
eating,
chomping, right, eating, whatever. And here it's not. It's a little bit more, I think, a tad bit more suggestive, maybe. I don't know. For me, it is.
And then there are also new form of punishment. The electrification of the traitors is something totally new.
Right, and here we are really well into the Inferno, of course.
Yeah. So with the new electric devices, vacuum cleaner, computer.
So
this
is Riccardo Mannelli. He had
it's interesting because there is also something sadomasochistic in this image. So probably it's suggesting that our Inferno today is in our contemporary life, not in another dimension.
Right. Traditori today is very,
exactly.
What can we say, very relevant. Very relevant, yeah.
And
then, of course, the last drawing for the Inferno is Arriva delle Stelle,
beautiful.
right? Which becomes a little bit more classic in style. And then again, we open up with the three sort of banners. Now, in the original, these are a good probably 1.8 meters, let's say, high, each one of them. Our space would be overwhelmed by them if we did them that size. So we decided to make them just a tad bit bigger and use them as markers to divide the three canticles, right? So here again, the Purgatorio, and then of course we have the design of the Purgatorio, which of course is always useful. I've always found it useful to have that image as you read through, right? It just sort of helps you understand as you're moving through. And again, the contrast in style, just in these three, for example, right? This one is totally phantasmagoric, right? And this is Catone il Censore. This is totally phantasmagoric. It's just right, the way it's done. And this one instead is much more of a traditional type drawing stylistically. This also, although a little bit different from this one.
That is so beautiful because it's as if he's suggesting then that when you are dead, you are going to another world. Everything is changing in shape, in vision. There is the cube, which is the symbol of our geometry, but then this image is going beyond.
It sort of dissipates almost.
Exactly,
right.
So beautiful.
Right, right. And again, the Purgatorio, we have, I think, Carbone, right? Yeah, she has two. We saw one in the Inferno, very similar. And then
this is very floral style.
This one here, yeah.
Art Nouveau.
This is almost Asian. It reminded me of sort of an Asian style, right? This one here. And then of course, this is Il peso di una farfalla.
Beautiful.
Right. The Invidiosi, of course. And this is the Femmina Balba, the famous Femmina Balba. And
some of them could be in the hell, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they are so, this one is so tragic, and I would say these two.
Mm-hmm. 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 So we have the Albero Rovesciato, and then of course here the Tre Donne, le visioni di Matilda. This of course is very contemporary in style, right? Very contemporary. And again, it's something I would think, sort of like the one, the Minotauro, that type of drawing. In this we would see in a current day cartoon, as well as this one, I think. This is, of course, the apparition of Beatrice.
I love the angels.
Yeah, the two putti, right?
Yes, because this really something which is linked to popular culture, like in a competition with the number. This is very, very, very nice.
Yeah. And then, of course, then we end with another more
traditional.
Yeah, and I think Ralli and Ra, I think we end the same. So as I said, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we have like 12, and 15, the number. So, and again, here's the Purgatorio. This is the Paradiso,
which is probably the most difficult. Because everything is in a way disappearing. So.
And what I like about this is the one.
Beautiful.
This is the one they use for the poster, and it's probably the one that I Tre Specchi, the one about the whole idea of whether it's disappearing or the ambiguity of it all. And you get an artist like Michela who gives you this sort of almost Renaissance type almost style here, but then we have these gears up on top, and there's this combination, it seems to me, of at least thematically, of a more Renaissance, but then the modern up here. And
this is the one who made the first one that I liked, probably in the hell.
Beppe Stasi, yes.
Very beautiful, these two. Beautiful, really.
Yeah, so Stasi, Carbone, Biani also has one, Biani de Rugolino, and you can sort of see a little bit the same side. And this is really interesting, Il vagare dei corpuscoli luminosi nell'ombra, but this is all modern. Bicycles, calcio.
It's as if people do not realize that these small particles are going through the shadow. They live without looking at the light. It's beautiful, these two.
And it's intercultural, where this is clearly African, This one, there's something about that one that's sort of attractive.
The idea that, because of course they are in the day, but there is also the night that they don't see because we can't see the stars during the day, but they are there, these small parts of the universe that reflect God, the light of God. It's very beautiful.
And it can almost be sort of a negative of a photograph, right? A negative from which then you can reproduce. And then this one becomes another modernistic one that right? And then, and again, the way, at least the way the curator laid it out, we just have this very traditional, sort of contemporary, this sort of avant-garde type, progressive, and then very traditional here as well.
We have the representation of Florence probably here.
Yeah.
Because it's yes, at the tower,
Right.
And it's the only one I see.
I think so. Yeah.
And of cities in any case, nice with the books.
This
So
one, yeah,
beautiful.
this one's good, right? I like
Yes,
that one. I like this one a lot. Yeah, and this one is La Testa. Okay, so this is another mixed sort of style to some degree, and also thematics.
This is so beautiful.
This one's really,
And it goes back to Marziano Capella, Le nozze di Mercurio e Filologia, because Marziano Capella suggested that through culture you go to God, through books.
Through books.
So it's really beautiful. This
and
is,
then this is,
nice.
of course, Dante. And then we have L'altre stelle.
And we go back to
And we go back, right. And Ralli closes, I think, yep, he closes the Inferno, he closes the Purgatorio, and here he closes the Paradiso.
Really remind me of Dore, because the structure of the image, all the souls around this light, it's very beautiful. But you have something more here.
And then we have, exactly, this is one of the drawings as well from the exhibit. There are two that they use. One of the drawings, this I think is also Stasi. One of the drawings, of course, the Tre Specchi is the poster, and along with the poster of credits, there also this panel here they use as well for the drawing. And this is the classic Dante, right? This one is not, as we move over to the statue, this one is not as angry as our as our Dante here. There he's a little maybe contemplative or whatever. He might be actually a little bit sad, it seems almost, right? But when we look at this Dante, this is the angry Dante, right? This is the Dante that was expelled from Florence and it couldn't go back. This
He's
is the Dante,
summoning everybody.
exactly.
Yes.
This is the Dante who's missing his salted bread. No, his unsalted bread. Unsalted bread. So, but this is this is a bust. It's a Dante made in 1919 by Onorio Ruotolo, who was a sculptor, basically a portrait sculptor. He had a school, the Leonardo School of Art, which was very famous in the first half of the 20th century. And if we have him this way looking out, not that he's supposed to scare people from coming in, but that's just the way the sculpture was made. The sculpture was made. So if our camera people can get, or actually we can do something even, we can pull him around a little bit, and they can get a better view of Dante's expression.
It's a very effective
It
work
is,
of the sculpture. As if it was a study for a monument.
Well, this eventually was in bronze, and it was, I think, at Columbia University for a while. And there's another popular Italian American artist, novelist named Frances Winwar. Her name was Francesca Vinciguerra. When she published her first book, the editor said, "Your name's too long for the spine of the book." And so she translated into Winwar, Frances Winwar. And Frances Winwar wrote a series of novels, but she was also a translator and a scholar. And she translated, for example, in 1930, she translated the Decamerone, which was then printed in the 50s in what was called the Modern Library series. And she wrote a book on Ruotolo. She's a very interesting, she wrote a book on Ruotolo, and it's one of only 2 or 3 things that we have on Ruotolo, Onorio Ruotolo.
Who probably moved from Italy to the States?
Yes, he was also, right. There are a number of, the 2 famous names for sculpture at least are Ruotolo and of course Piccirilli. There were 5 brothers, the Piccirilli brothers, and they had a studio here in New York. And they were the sculptors for the 2 lions in front of the New York Public Library.
Yes.
That, of course, is attributed to, I think it's Chesterfield, David Chesterfield, I think the name is, who was the designer. As well as they did, I think, the head, if not all, of Lincoln at the Lincoln Memorial. And they also did the facade of the Rockefeller Center. They did the facade, those bas reliefs that you
Exactly,
see.
because I think that we don't realize how many sculptors there are in the buildings of New York between the end of 19th and the beginning of 20th century.
The idea, though, of doing the Dante, because it's all related.
Yes,
you know?
but it's very interesting because it's a contemporary Dante.
Exactly.
And we are used to look at an older way of illustrating Dante. Sometimes it's also a Dante that reinvents also the text because so we can see how much productive Dante is still is. He's able to move imagination. I think that it will be nice to close our interview and our visit speaking a bit about your publications, because you are not only the Dean of the Calandra Institute, but you direct a very important publishing house.
Well, thank you. It's got a strange name, but that's because we were young when we came up with the name. It's called Bordighera Press. Bordighera because one of the founders, Paolo Giordano, was born in Bordighera, and then his family came to the States in the late 50s. And I, because of my early friendship with Paolo, visited Bordighera and spent a couple of summers there. So we decided we wanted to be a little bit, heretical, and give a name that was a little bit different. So we chose Bordighera Press. We started it because we wanted to do a journal called VIA, Voices in Italian Americana. Then we realized a couple of years into doing the journal that a lot of Italian American writers, especially poets, who were writing with an Italian American theme, couldn't get their work published. As good as their poetry was, they couldn't get their work published. And even those who were doing prose would sometimes be told, well, if you add a little bit of mafia to it, maybe we can reconsider it. And so there's a real stereotype on the part of, not everyone, but some of the editors that some of our early writers had approached. And so because poetry, it's usually small, the books are 60, 70, 80 pages. At that time, I was at Purdue University, which had its own, they called it a print shop, but it was a printing factory. They produced the books for us at a fairly good cost, so we didn't have to invest a lot in it. And we started there. We started in 1992 with a chapbook called A Narration on the Second Death of Christopher Columbus by the late Robert Viscusi. I'll make sure you get a copy of it, by the late Robert Viscusi. It's a 14-page poem. We started with that. And then we did something on Joseph Tusiani, who just passed away last year, who at 96, who was one of the immigrant, quote unquote, immigrant writers here in the United States, 20th century. Tusiani has a real interesting story. He came here at 23 to meet his father for the first time. His mother was 6 months pregnant when the father left Italy. He grew up in Italy, went to college in Italy, went to Naples in English literature, came to the United States with the idea of bringing his father back, and instead he stayed. And Joseph became who he became. He translated Michelangelo, he translated Dante, he translated the Gerusalemme Liberati, he translated Il Morgante by Pulci, he translated all the classics. And And so we did a book in honor of Tusiani back in '94.
But you are publishing now not only poetry or narrative.
Now we're publishing everything.
Everything,
yeah.
exactly.
So we've gone from 2 books in '92, 3, 4 to I think we have about 200 volumes we've done over the last 30 years.
For instance, the book of Piero Bassetti.
We published Piero Bassetti. We published 3 things by Bassetti, but we published his latest, his manifesto.
Yeah, exactly.
Svegliamoci Italici, Wake Up Italics. Yeah, Bassetti, and and Piero eventually will see this, and he knows I feel this way. That thought it's underrated. It's underestimated.
Yeah, I know.
Let's put it that way. It's because he's right. It's not just.
A lot of people are borrowing from him.
Yes.
Without quoting.
Without quoting. So it's not just Italian. It's not just Italian American.
Yes.
It's not just ethnic, right? It's not just quote unquote DNA. Yeah. We also have to deal with the Idlophiles.
Exactly, because it's the post-national world.
Right.
Post-international world, which is the world where we are going to live and where Dante really was hoping to live. So thank you very much, Anthony, for bringing us in a sort of a contemporary Dante, which is amazing. And we will be back another time when the next book of Bordighera Press.
Well, by all means. And let me just say that eventually all this will be up online, calandrainstitute.org.
Okay.
Is the place
Thank
to go.
you
Good.
so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you.